Hello, happy people. This is an Algebra 2 lesson. We're still in our first chapter of reviewing what we did in Algebra 1, and one of the major things we did in Algebra 1 was graph lines. I'm going to do my best. It's not the easiest to do this on my Chromebook, but I'm going to try. All right, so to graph a line, we need to know two things. We need to know the slope. We need to know a point where the line starts. So the slope is the ratio of the vertical change to the horizontal change, the change in our y direction over our change in our x direction, is represented by the letter m. So when we're graphing, it's our rise over run. So we're moving up and down for our numerator and left and right for our denominator. And how we find it, if we have 2 points, is we take and we subtract the y1 from the y2 over the x2 from the x1 from the coordinates of the point. So slope is how fast our line either rises or falls. It's a change in y to change in x. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure all of our equations are in slope-intercept form, because that gives us a slope and a point where we start. So that point would be our y-intercept, so where it touches the y-axis. And so in order to do that, we're going to solve for the letter y, so that we have y equals mx plus b, because then our coefficient on our x is our slope, and the number we're adding on is where it touches the y-axis, our b. So we're going to start with 3x minus y equals 4. We're going to do that on the next slide. So what we're going to do, like I said, we're going to solve our equation for y. We're going to find our b, and we're going to plot that point on the y-axis, because that is a y-intercept. Remember, an intercept is just a point where it touches something. So if it's a y-intercept, it touches the y-axis. And then we're going to count out our slope ratio from our b using rise over run. So like I said, our first example is 3x minus y equals 4. And so first thing we're going to do is to solve for y. And to solve for y, the first thing I'm going to do is move my x away from the y. So I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. Common mistake here is to not put the x on there and then accidentally subtract here. But remember, 4 and negative 3x are not like terms, so we can't combine them. So we're going to get negative y is equal to, and we have a negative 3x. I'm going to put that first because remember it's y equals mx plus b. And then we have a positive, so 4, so I'll put plus 4. We still haven't solved for y because we have a hidden negative 1 here. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1. And remember, when we divide and we're dividing more than one thing, we have to do it to both. So we have to go across the entire expression here. So negative 3x divided by negative 1 is a positive 3x, and a positive 4 divided by 1 is negative 1. So now we're in the y equals mx plus b equation. So our b is equal to negative 1. So that means we're going to start at the point 0, negative 1. So we go left to right. We don't go anywhere because it's 0. And we go down 1, and we put a point. All right. So then for our slope is the number 3. And to turn that into a ratio, I make it 3 over 1. Because remember, you can put any integer over 1 to make it a fraction. So that means I'm going to go up 3. So up 1, 2, 3, and over to the right 1. So I went up 3 over 1, and then I can go ahead and make my line from these 2 points, and it's not the straightest, but there we go. Make sure we put arrows on each end, because remember, lines go on forever and include an infinite amount of points. All right. So solve for y, get your b, get your m, graph your line by putting your b on your y-axis, and then using your slope to count. All right, next example, we have y equals x plus 5. So in this example, we already have a b. Our b is 5. So we're going to start at the point 0, 5. Okay, 0, there we go, 0, 5. So To go any left or right, go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put a dot there. And then for our slope, the hidden number in front of the x is a 1. And remember to make that a ratio, I'm going to put it over 1. So that means to find my next point or two, I'm going to go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, and put points, and then I can make my line. You really use a straight edge to make your line, but there we go. So I have my b was 0, 5, so I started 0, 5, went up 1 over 1. All right, next example, we have 2x plus 5y equals 10. So we not solve for y this time right away. So we have to solve for y. So again, I'm going to move my x over. So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. Make sure, again, we put that x on so we're not combining things that aren't like terms. So I'll get, all right, we'll get 5y is equal to a negative 2x, and that's a positive 10, so plus 10. Y is not alone yet, so we're going to divide by 5. And remember, we got to do both terms, divide by 5. So negative 2x over 5, we're going to keep as negative 2 over 5. And 10 divided by 5 is 2, so we'll get plus 2. So my b here, my b is 2. So that means my starting point is 0, 2. And my slope is negative 2 over 5. So I'm going to start at 0, 2, put a dot there. And since my slope is negative, that means to go down 2, but my 5 is still a positive number, so I'm still going to go in the positive direction 5. So 1, 2, 4, 5. And then remember, a negative slope means our line should fall, and so we get a line like this. So our line is falling. Remember, don't go down and to the left because that'll make an equation that has a positive slope, because negative divided by negative is a positive number. So make sure if you have a negative slope, you go down, but you still go to the right. All right. All right, so that's if we have a line that isn't horizontal or vertical. So let's talk about what happens if our lines are horizontal or vertical. So if we have a horizontal line, our slope is going to be 0. We're going to have 0 slope. And so we're going to have y equals a number, because to remember, get 0 slope, your y's must all be the same. So it's horizontal. We're not moving up and down. So all our y's must be the same number. And so, example, we're going to graph is y equals 2. We're going to do that on the next slide. And then on the slide after that, we're going to do a vertical line. So a vertical line, we have undefined slope because our x's are all the same. So if we found slope, there'd be a 0 on the bottom of our fraction. And remember, we can't divide by 0. So we're not moving anywhere left or right. All our x's are the same number, and our slope is undefined. So we'll have x equals negative 3 as our example that we're going to graph after we do our horizontal line. So let's do a couple examples so we see what that looks like. So when y equals 2, if my y always equals 2, no matter what point I graph, I can graph 0, 2, I can graph 5, 2, I can graph negative 10, 2. All of my y's equal 2 are going to make this horizontal line at a positive 2. So y equals 2 is still a line. It just has no slope. So if I were to find the slope here, I would get 0 over a number, which is 0. So our slope here is 0, and it's a horizontal line because all my y's are 2. So, all right. So y equals a number, horizontal line. If x equals a number, we're going to make a vertical line. So if x equals negative 3, that means any point I have is negative 3, 0, negative 3, 8, negative 3, negative 3. All of the points that start with negative 3 are part of this line, which will make a horizontal line. And so here, if we found our slope, when we subtracted points, we get a number on top for y, and we get 0 on the bottom, which means our slope is undefined. So if we have an undefined slope, that's still a line. Remember, it's not a function, but it's still a line, and it's a vertical line. And so all our x's are the same. So every single point on this line starts with a -3. All right, so that's vertical. All right, so your homework is a worksheet that you can find on Brightspace. You can also find in the activity feed any virtual assignment you need to do this week. So I hope you have a great day, Cardinals, and make it count.